For those of you who aren't in the know, the DOJ has filed an indictment against Tenet Media, which is a far-right media company slash YouTube channel that had in its payroll a number of far-right YouTubers, most notably Tim Pool. I didn't realize this at the end of last stream. These motherfuckers were getting paid $400,000 a month, $100,000 a week, $100,000 for a weekly video. So $100,000 for a video, 4 times a month. Pretty wacky. Yeah, that's quite a bit, as it turns out, you know? Money like that, you do not offer to people without strings attached. That was my main curiosity, right? To what extent do the people like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool know that they're acting as unregistered foreign agents for the Russian government? Well, I would argue that in a lot of ways, it doesn't actually matter. Don't claw that up. That's a nice bench. Got to discipline Rubin, you know? Got to discipline Rubin and can't let him do it. Can't let him do it. That's a lot of money. There is no way money like that is getting offered without strings attached. Not even a little bit. I'd be willing to bet that quite a few people on the far right, knowingly or otherwise, are unregistered foreign agents of the Russian government, just because the Russian government has invested so much time and effort and money into propagating misinformation in Western media. This is their main line. They love doing this stuff, you know? It is obviously illegal to operate as an unregistered foreign agent. The question would be whether or not people like Tim Pool know that they're acting as such. I would argue that even if they didn't explicitly know, and they might have, but even if they didn't explicitly know, they still kind of knew. I mean, what are you, stupid? Hey, here's $100,000 every week for one video a week. Here are like all the guidelines for what you can and can't say. Are you kidding me? Are you joshing me? Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find if there's any evidence of like what specific requirements they are for what they're allowed to say, like what the conditions were for the money that they were receiving. But one thing that I did find exceptionally funny is the fact that after the DOJ indictment dropped, both Tim Pool and Ben Johnson made tweets where they referred to it as leaked, which means they're getting their information from the same group chat. They both refer to it as a leaked DOJ indictment. It's not leaked. It's a regular DOJ indictment. They put it out there through the regular channels. It's not leaked. Dave Rubin did that too. They all get their information from the same group chat, which increases the likelihood that they're aware of the fact that they're unregistered foreign agents. Think about it. Under what circumstances would they be getting their information top down unless there was a greater level of collaboration with this channel and this political entity than they're letting on publicly, right? Like, just because they're all on the same payroll doesn't mean they all collaborate. They're not in a streamer house. If their tweets all have the same vibe to them, it's like somebody else is handling them. Or at the very least, somebody else is providing instruction on how to handle them, which, again, increases the likelihood of it being knowing collusion. Yeah, they got a Discord. Or a Telegram chat, more likely. Please check his Twitter right now. See if you notice any funny stuff going on. There's nothing funny about his Twitter because Tim Pool does the exact same thing literally every time he does anything really stupid or gets him ire, which is he just tweets random shit. Hi, Mom. I am now pro-war. We must fund Israel and Ukraine. Retweeting Anna Kasparian. Just standard, like, far-right nonsense behavior. Mental illness all around. You know how it is. The standard far-right stuff, retweeting Anna Kasparian, you know how it is. At least now we know how Tim Pool could afford a skater cult compound. First of all, don't call him Dim Fool. That's corny Gen X stuff, and we don't do that here. Second of all, he makes plenty of money on his own show. I don't know how long the Tenet Media grift has been running, but he's definitely independently wealthy. But yeah, this definitely, you know, it contributes to it. His poser-ass skating identity. He doesn't use his channel to post like skateboard trick compilation videos. They do have a Discord. It's mentioned in the indictment. Well, I have the indictment up. As another example, in a private exchange on the messaging platform Discord in February, Producer 1 told Founder 2 that, quote, when I was asking people if they wanted to interview, many said yes until I said I was with RT, so I switched to saying I was working for Founder 1. Founder 2 replied, ha, not surprised. That's interesting. Makes you wonder at which point they stopped mentioning that little factoid, you know, and with whom. Have any of their associated organizations made public statements, or are they rotten in totality? I have said this before, and I will make it clear. We call right-wing pundits online grifters for a reason. They don't believe what they say. The differentiating factor here is that they just don't care. A lot of them will simultaneously lie, but also get sincerely indignant if you challenge them on it. Haven't you ever met like a narcissist or a habitual liar? Haven't you ever met somebody who lies really, really frequently, often for no reason, and if you call them out on a lie, they get weirdly defensive, even though their lie is completely, obviously evident, and it can be proved that it's evident, and there's no benefit to them to maintain the lie or if to even made it in the first place, but they still get defensive? Those people rise to the top of conservative media. So for a lot of them, there's not really much of a functional difference between their regular content and being told what to say as like unregistered foreign agents. I would say the only conservative pundits who actually believe the stuff they say, I would say, are people like What If Alt History. Genuine madmen. I mean that. I'm not being like, it's not a joke. I genuinely think that like the ones who actually believe what they're saying are so insane that they're capable of holding that stuff in their head. Or Nick Fuentes, you're cooked. Nick Fuentes doesn't believe a single thing that he says. No, completely incorrect. You have to be, there can't be any of that sneering, condescending, I know what I know and I'll get what I get from it. You have to be a genuine bumbling lunatic. Alex, are you joking? Do you have any, are you getting like, did somebody offer you a bridge recently? You think Alex Jones has any degree of sincerity to him? You're just saying people. I should ban you for that. Are you kidding me? You could not have mentioned a more. I think that Donald Trump really believes what he's saying. Are you kidding me? Are you insane? You have no idea. Jordan Peterson might believe what he says ever since the brain melt, you know? Suspiciously 400,000 a month shaped chatter. Yum. Like a wad of hundreds, right? Right here, bulging out in the throat. Yeah, Jordan Peterson doesn't know what he says. That's the difference, yeah. Lauren Shen got fired from the Blaze for this. Blaze Media's fired Lauren Shen. My guess is that Blaze Media also has ties to Russian money, and they're firing Lauren Shen because they don't want there to be a direct and obvious line between them and somebody the DOJ has already pointed out. I fully believe Russian investment can be tied to basically every far-right, quote-unquote, independent media source in the West, or at least some of the larger ones. Because it's so easy to influence them. It's so easy. You know, $400,000 a month might seem like a lot, but compared to how much it costs to run a television empire, YouTubers are incredibly easy to buy. U.S. Company One, that's Tenet Media, describes itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues and identifies 6 commentators, including Commentator 1 and Commentator 2, as talent. So those are 2 of the 6 YouTubers. Were those one of the people who they admitted to? No, Producer 1 and Founder 2, not Commentator 1 or Commentator 2. Very curious. Did you get a chance to watch Kyle Kalinski's Independent Media's video the other day? Nope, I don't watch political content on my own time, but he's correct, and I saw the tweet that probably contained the same sentiment. By the way, just to be clear, I've been saying this for years. Independent media was never a thing. Basically, the moment that it became clear that YouTubers could actually change minds, they were targets for every shady investment that you could possibly make. Like, genuinely. The idea that, if you're watching something like Breaking Points, and you're thinking like, wow, independent media free of financial ties, you're genuinely like fish IQ, you know? You don't know you're in water. You have no idea what's going on. But Kyle Kalinski himself, I think he's got credibility. Even if I disagree with a lot of what he says, I do think he has credibility. Just a vibe check. I think he's a cool guy. Ben Shapiro says, this is correct. Dave Rubin and Tim Cast and Benny Johnson aren't the issue here. They were apparently deceived by the company founders who were allegedly taking Russian cash. Lie. This is bullshit, Ben. I work in this industry. Independent media isn't independent if they say yes like a little lapdog to every Tom, Dick, and Harry advertiser wanting to throw money at them. I've never had a conversation with an advertiser and you jam a ad read into a 7-minute video like the corrupt sellout you are. If someone is giving hundreds of thousands of dollars a week or a month or a week, there are strings attached. You know this and you're lying, which is true. And Ben's in on it too, obviously. They're all in on it. None of them believe any of the stuff they say. The founders of Tenet Media are Lauren Shen and her husband, by the way. They knew they were being used by Russia. I guess that explains why Blaze dropped her so quickly, since she's that obviously corrupt. But again, I just want to make it clear, okay? First of all, Russia is not the source of any of this. They provide a lot of funding because they're interested in doing now what America did in the 1950s and 1960s. To fight the global spread of communism, we invested an ungodly number of resources in funding and backing far-right political parties, militias, whatever, all across the world. Now Russia's doing the same thing. We still do the same thing to an extent, but we've got nothing on Russia right now. They're like, a disinfo You know, their engagement with that kind of thing is a lot more pronounced right now than ours is. We've gone soft, is what I'm saying. Second of all, the removal of Russia from the factor would not like prevent any of this from happening. They're only inflaming and supporting elements of internal division that previously existed. The far right did not get invented by Russia. Third, and I think this is a really important one, people have long said that Russia will fund any viewpoint as long as it sows division in the West. This is incorrect. They will they will promote any viewpoint that is destructive to the West. This is the reason why you see from RT, back when it still operated in America, you'd have far right and far left people, but the far left people they had on were like Hotep types, you know what I mean? Or the people who were so wildly politically ineffective that they couldn't get anything actually done politically, and they only served to like sow division. Like Russian money has never gone towards like Bernie Sanders types. Does that make sense? Russian money doesn't go towards left-leaning figures that have a chance at getting something done. It goes towards right-leaning figures when they have a chance at getting something done. Because Russia is far right. They're not interested in the propagation of genuine left-leaning ideology because genuine left-leaning people don't like Russia. They have done a lot to promote and sow the seeds of that like American diabolist campist political attitude where people on the left think that they're like the be-all end-all of being correct politically is hating America, but for some reason it's okay to be like weirdly apologetic to Russia. That's definitely something they've leaned into. Yeah, when they fund leftists, it's tankies every single time. Every single time. It's when they fund leftists, it's the kind of lefties who are like criticizing Russia for oppressing gay people is actually criticizing Russia for not accepting Western hegemony. You know, Stalin had no choice but to arrest gay people. As best indicated by that Jill Stein speech she did, where she had like 12 people behind her, and all of them had signs that were saying, drop Kamala. Like, man, we're not even going to mention Trump. Are you kidding me? You're running as a third-party candidate, and your exclusive rhetorical and political like interests is attacking the more left-leaning of the two candidates. Like, there's not a word to mention hitting towards the right. Anyway, I want to make it clear that like this is either a much more pronounced issue than people are willing to give it credit for. Resist libs were right, very sorry. Or there's no functional difference between Tim Pool being funded by Russia and Tim Pool not being funded by Russia. Here's him on Timcast, not Tenet Media.
But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine.
I don't care about the stupid boomer Reddit. That rant went on for a while. It's pretty funny. Like I said, there's not much of a difference functionally between a far-right political agent who's funded by Russia and a far-right political agent who's just doing their own thing. Fascists love fascists in other nations. They love that shit. They love it. Fascism is internationalism in its own way, you know? That's because fascism is always derived from capital. Every time you see like a super right-wing a media apparatus or grifter or pundit or whatever, they are tied directly to money. The idea of like genuine independent right-wing commentary, it's not a real thing. You can literally see this happen, by the way. Every single so-called independent right-wing YouTube channel or live streamer ended up biting the grift and sounding exactly like all the rest of them, ended up taking the exact same sponsorship reads, the exact same talking points, the exact same rhetoric. All of them fell in line and got in with the system, or they completely fell off. No exceptions. None. That's what happened to all of them. There's no esotericism in like the presentation of right-wing media because all of it is completely dependent on that investment. It's that shit Chris Ray said a long time ago. Yeah. Man, I wish I could find that. Wasn't it like a TikTok where Chris Ray said that a while ago he got sent an email saying that he would receive a lot of money for repeating right-wing talking points, and he said no, but he could tell which YouTubers said yes. You found it? Be excited, you found it? If this isn't the right TikTok, it's over for you. Do you think Tim Pool actually believes the things he says? No. No, you have to free yourself of that. I think it would be very comforting for a lot of liberal people to believe that the right believed in the things that they say, and part of being useful in fighting them is understanding that they don't. You have to get over that. You just have to accept that. It is not cognitively possible for a sane human being to believe the things that they believe. Do you have any idea how many beliefs the average right-wing pundit has that could be disproven by, like, Googling the subject? And it would take no effort, and it would be done. There are hundreds of things they say, shamelessly, repeatedly, flagrantly. They will enter a debate that position, accept that they were wrong on it, and then continue saying it. This happens all the time. They don't believe what they're saying. I saved the link the last time you showed it on stream. That's nice. Be excited. Has it been found?
Now, this is a story all about how several years back I got an email from some shady people with a lot of power who said you could make a ton of money towing the conservative party line and we'll make sure that happens for you. And I said, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be beholden to anybody but me. And I refused that offer, and the years went by, and it's become very clear who the people were who just did not refuse that money. And it's actually wildly obvious, and it's kind of sad.
Yep. That was probably Russia? No, that probably wasn't Russia. There were a bunch of other, like, conservative shell companies that pay money out to YouTubers and live streamers that tell them what to say and what they can and can't do. Trust me, that's already a thing. Yeah, there's a lot of conservative money to go around. They may have far fewer supporters on average, but they have the backing of very powerful people. Are you bought by Russia? Yes, and you can tell from all the nice things I say about them. Anyway, now time for the most scathing endorsement of Tim Pool. Here's him with was this Elijah Schaffer, the neo-Nazi who got fired from the Blaze for sexually assaulting his coworkers, and Tim Pool standing on his tippy toes for the group photo. I think it's cute, you know. We all like to stay on the level. The only thing Tim Pool is sincere about is his insecurity about his height and baldness. That's the only, like, legitimate through line you can get to his actual feelings and beliefs. You know how much money, considering how much money there was in British politics prior to Brexit, it's weird no one looked at American politics at the time. You realize the big turnabout for Russian investment in the global far right happened during the annexation of Crimea, right? That was the big turning point. Like Putin's expansionism before, the you know, what happened in Georgia, what happened with the Chechnya, those were kind of internal conflicts. They weren't, obviously, but that's how they were viewed by the West. But the annexation of Crimea was the big one that earned widespread condemnation. The fact that, like, you have to understand, Putin is an expansionist. He always has been. And biding his time from the fall of the Soviet Union up to 2014, he had a plan. And that plan was gain more land, gain more power, everyone else fall in line, reunite the Russian Empire, basically. And Ukraine was the one big tipping point in the opposite direction. That was where everything began to go wrong. Yanukovych was ousted, Euromaidan happened, the Ukrainian people rejected their Russian backed you know, autocrat. They re-elected their own government. That was like the one big turning point. That was when Putin's plan fell through. That was the huge tipping point. It's Ukraine. It's huge. It's a breadbasket. They couldn't get rid of that. So that's why they went so sicko mode afterwards. That's when they locked in. That's why they annexed Crimea. That's why they invaded the Donbass. That's why now they're invading Ukraine. That was the tipping point. But after that, after the fall of Yanukovych, after the annexation of Crimea, the sanctions Russia faced from the West, that was when they started setting aside money for real foreign interference, you know? They had always done it. Every country does foreign interference, guys, but that's when Russia decided to be what they are now. That's when they decided to be the force that they are now. And then they got heavily involved in everything. Brexit, the 2016 election, like all around the world, their influence grew substantially. That was the moment they became Heisenberg. Exactly. They were before that in Eastern Europe, though. You didn't listen to what I said. That's okay. I say words mostly for my own enjoyment, not for your benefit. You know? I mean, Russia annexed parts of Estonia and Latvia in the 90s, so there was a smaller push for expansion even before Putin. It's even right as I return. It's like a very specific mental impulse, like a curse that some people have, or whenever, like, I understand the point you made, and the point you made was correct, but you need to know that I also have information that you didn't take the time to say. It's the phrasing, I think. It's the phrasing. State-sponsored Russian media leverages meliorator software for foreign malign influence activity. I don't have the education to parse this. Is this just talking about Russian bots? I already know about those. Yeah, this is... What is this? Are you kidding me right now? But specifically that only Twitter lets them happen. Covert AI enhanced software package to create fictitious online personas. Post content on Twitter. Although the tool was only identified on Twitter, the authoring organization's analysis of Meliorator indicated the developer intends to expand its functionality to other social media platforms. That's not... I'm glad that Twitter is such a festering shithole for bots and far-right grifting that they get to, like, front their software in on Twitter, you know? It's like, yeah, this where are we going to test our Russian disinformation bots? Obviously on Twitter. That's like the main place for that, you know? Yeah, the easiest target. The DOJ came out with it today. Basically, the Russian military intelligence is thriving on Twitter, and they even identified the specific Russian agents behind it. Yeah, well, if our government had any balls, this would be enough to completely block Twitter. At the very least, like, the EU needs to work on this, man. Brazil, I can't believe, like, the first country to really block Twitter was Brazil, and it was over Elon belligerently not appointing a representative in the nation to defend them against legal claims of not banning the right people. It's like, at what point does a website just become a, you know, national security risk? The EU is notoriously really slow. Yeah, they need to, like, get rid of all the Germans that are running it and replace them with Italians. Wait, then nothing would get done because they wouldn't work. Fuck. Are there any Europeans that are fast and productive? No one near the Mediterranean, that's for sure. The Swiss? No. They're too procedural. The Poles? Yeah, in a kind of slapdash way. Guys, I've got it. I've got it. You're not ready for it, but I've got it. Nigerian immigrants. Those motherfuckers are going to hit the ground running. Are you kidding me? The entire EU. They just, with, like, the light of fire under their ass, you know? They're going to be, everything's going to be fixed in no time. All right? They're going to be working like you couldn't even believe. I'm Portuguese, and our far-right guy randomly called Turkish people lazy out of nowhere. Undeserved, but true. It's the Mediterranean air. It has nothing to do with race. Everything from the, you know, the Iberian Peninsula all the way down to the, you know, the Levant to Northern Africa. It's the salty Mediterranean air just makes people want siestas. It's not a race thing. But, like, yeah, Portuguese people are also, well, they're not really Mediterranean. The air carries over Spain. Do you apply this to Floridians? I'm sorry, are Floridians by the Mediterranean? Tim Pool is just tweeting random shit petulantly like a 5-year-old because he's literally operating as a unregistered foreign agent and a traitor to the United States, and his response to that is, haha, I'm gonna do what every, like, 14-year-old does when they get in trouble for something and, like, belligerently lean into it as a way of indicating you don't care and you're, like, so above it all. Like, is that funny? Just boring, dude.